Welcome to another FPL video. Today we're looking at the best free hit team. This will be an updated version following all the confirmed doubles for Game Week 20 and also all the latest information. All the Carabao Cup games have finished and we have some updates about Man City and a potential double later in the season. I'll talk about the repercussions of their 2-0 loss to Southampton, and I'm going to be making a few changes to this best free hit team, but this will also help you with normal transfer plans to build the best possible team for Game Week 20 and get the best double Game Week players. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop it a like. Let's try to get this to over 300, and check out my other videos such as the best wildcard team, transfer tips, team selection, and the deadline stream which is coming tomorrow, and also the reaction stream. There's so much heading your way, but without further ado, let's get straight into this video. I think David De Gea is a smart and logical choice. A few other considerations for this game would be Raya, who I discussed in the last best free hit team video. Kepa is still a decent option against Crystal Palace, but I think David De Gea is the standout. I'm not expecting too much from Man City, but maybe a few save points and getting a 1 or 2 pointer overall would be okay. And then the clean sheet against Crystal Palace, that's what I'm expecting. And he's also a decent option beyond Game Week 20 if you're looking for a long-term goalkeeper. Man United have had one of the best defences since the restart. Danny Ward is always there as the second goalkeeper. A playing option who only costs 4 million. If you ever need the funds, you can always go to a 3.9 million choice like Iverson, but I just go for this duo for Game Week 20, and I think David De Gea is the pick of the bunch for this week. There are 4 defenders that I always talk about in my videos: Botman, Trippier, Luke Shaw, and Ben White. With White facing Tottenham, and you've got the likes of Perisic having a double game week, I'd go for this instead. Werner would sit on your bench, and you could feasibly start all 4 of these defenders, or go for a back 3 and bench Botman. We're going to talk about this in the FPL.team section of this video later on. Now, I think Akanji is a better choice than Perisic. I think City have a better chance of a clean sheet, or even 2 in this double game week, but we are going for a triple up in Man City offensively, and in the FPL.team section, I'll show you 2 changes to the squad where I would have a Man City defender instead of Perisic, and I'd also go for someone else instead of one of these City attackers we're going for here. But with this team selection, which you see on screen, I'm going for Perisic. If you were to go for a Spurs defender, the alternative would be Doherty, but I think Perisic is a bit more nailed on, and Emerson could get a kind of surprise start, so to speak, in the double game week, and that's what would put me off Doherty a little bit. And Perisic has got 5 assists this season in the Premier League. Then we've got Luke Shaw, who has been fantastic since the restart as well. Probably the best FPL asset since then, and I could see him getting another clean sheet here, maybe an attack and return, but more importantly, I think a clean sheet and bonus points against Palace is what we're expecting. And to be fair, if City play as poorly as they did against Southampton, which I don't think will be the case, but if they did, I think United could even keep a clean sheet in that game as well. Then we've gone for the defensive double up of Newcastle. Like I said, you could start both of them, but you definitely would want to start Trippier. Then it's just a matter of, do you go for a back 4 and put Botman in, or do you bench him and have him ready to come on if needed? There's one key change in the midfield with Riyad Mahrez coming in, and we are going for that triple up in Man City offensively in this part. And of course, like I said, in the FPL.team section, I'll show you 2 changes for a more orthodox team selection. But I think Mahrez is one of the best players in the game right now on current form. I think he'll start both games in the double. I think what makes him even more appealing is the fact that he was rested fully against Southampton in the Carabao Cup, and that makes him even more appealing as an option. Now, if I were to get one in, Riyad Mahrez or De Bruyne, I think De Bruyne is still the safer pick, but having said that, I'm really big on form, and Mahrez has it. He's getting the goals and assists. De Bruyne isn't. I think De Bruyne is playing well, but he's not getting those goals and assists which you need in FPL ultimately to get those points. So I would actually feasibly go with Mahrez at the moment if I had to pick one, and that's the dilemma I have with my own team selection. I am potentially going to sell Mohamed Salah, for example, and it'd be either De Bruyne or Mahrez coming in. I could even get both, but in the long term, I don't want to triple up in Man City offensively. That's more something I would recommend for one game week only in Game Week 20. So if you're using the free hit, I think that's the way to go about it. Kevin De Bruyne speaks for himself. I think he will get returns in the double game week and also beyond in fixtures like Wolves in Game Week 21, not to mention the double in 23 for Man City against Arsenal and Aston Villa. Rashford speaks for himself. He's a great captaincy option. You could consider him over Harry Kane and Haaland. I personally wouldn't, but I would put him in the top 3 in terms of the captaincy options this week. Then you could arguably say De Bruyne 4th and Mahrez 5th, or the other way around, especially when you look at form. It really is close, and it could go either way, and that's why I can see the benefit of those of you that are going to go for this triple up in Man City offensively in the long term. Andres Pereira is there just as a bench option, just a cheap choice in the midfield to sit on your bench. Facing Newcastle, I wouldn't expect anything. If you wanted a budget midfielder that you could feasibly start this week, I'd say Mitoma, McAllister, or March against Liverpool could be the play, and I'd mainly look at Mitoma or McAllister. The reason why I mentioned McAllister, who's 5.4 million, is because he's playing a more advanced role since the World Cup. De Zerbi spoke about this, and I also discussed this in recent videos talking about his comments. I think McAllister could be a great FPL option. He's already shown what he can do. 2 goals off the bench in the FA Cup against Middlesbrough, so I'd highly recommend considering someone like McAllister as well as a cheap midfielder option. The last one is Almiron, still the best choice at that price and below. And against Fulham, I think that Newcastle will still get the result. And Almiron has been a bit disappointing in the last few weeks, but I expect him to get back on the score sheet and also deliver some points in this game week. You could even have a decision to make in terms of who to start between Botman and Almiron, but you could even go for both, obviously. If not, if I had to pick one, I'd probably still favour Almiron just for the attacking potential. The front three remains the same, and you could arguably go for someone like Martial instead of Tony. You save a few headaches in terms of fitness and suspension risk, which we've discussed extensively on this channel, but you also would have to sacrifice one of your Man United assets, and it probably would be De Gea. And if you were to go that way, you want Martial up front on a free hit, and you need to sacrifice a United player, I would get rid of De Gea, probably for a David Raya against Bournemouth at home. That's the way I'd go about it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But I think Tony in that single game against Bournemouth, if he's fit and cleared to play, I could see him causing absolute havoc, and he could be a great option this week. Harry Kane and Haaland speak for themselves. They're the 2 best captaincy options this week in my opinion, and I'd probably lean more towards Haaland because of no suspension risk for him. And there's one important thing to note about the triple captaincy, for example, if you're planning to use it in Game Week 20. There's a 5-day break between both fixtures. In Game Week 23, for example, there's a much shorter turnaround between the Villa and Arsenal fixtures for Man City, and that could also play an advantage into triple captaining Haaland this week. And with Man City being eliminated by Southampton in the Carabao Cup, there will be no Bournemouth away fixture as part of a double game week, which was a possibility if Man City reached the Carabao Cup final. So in terms of potential doubles beyond Game Week 23, Man City would have to reach either the quarterfinals or the semi-finals for double game weeks against the likes of West Ham at home and Brighton away to form part of a double game week in either Game Week 34 or 37. And those doubles would still be more appealing from a fixtures perspective compared to Game Week 20 or 23, for example. But it still isn't, completely a standout. There was the possibility of a Fulham and Bournemouth double game week for Man City at some point if they reached the Carabao Cup final. That hasn't been the case. So now you could actually probably argue that Game Week 20 triple captaincy, go for what you know, and you won't have any kind of headaches thinking about potential doubles in the future. And after Man City's elimination from the Cup, I'm a bit more open-minded towards a triple captaincy of Haaland in Game Week 20. But with the form that Man City are in, obviously they beat Chelsea 4-0 in the FA Cup, they beat them in the Premier League, but also dropping points to Everton, that awful performance against Southampton, and Erling Haaland blanking for 2 games in a row technically. There's a few things that obviously don't sit right with me, and the double itself is very difficult. An informed Man United side, and Spurs just beat Crystal Palace 4-0, and they could be full of confidence, and they will surely have a game plan to nullify Man City, and they could execute it well as they have done in recent years. So I am still holding back a little bit, and right now I'm still leaning more towards saving the triple captaincy for later in the season, but I'm still open-minded, and by the deadline, you'll see in the deadline stream of course, I might end up just conceding and going for the triple captaincy. So that's something I'm still yet to think about. I don't think I triple captain the likes of Rashford or Kane. I think they're good options of course, but there are too many different factors that kind of put me off those players, especially Harry Kane with a 5 yellow card suspension risk. So that is the team. Let me now show you the 2 changes using FPL.team and also highlighting the bench and the way the team would be structured for Double Game Week 20. In goal, we would go for David De Gea with a back three of Kieran Trippier, Akanji and Luke Shaw. And once again, if you wanted to go for what we showed originally, then instead of Akanji, you can go for Ivan Perisic. And instead of Kulusevski in the midfield, as you can see, you could go for Riyad Mahrez. Let me know which duo you prefer. And De Bruyne, Almiron and Rashford would complete the midfield. Tony, Kane and Haaland would complete the front line. I still prefer Kane as an option in terms of captaincy over Rashford, but the 5 yellow card suspension risk is also a really big thing. And that's why you could argue that Rashford is a better captaincy option this week. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. The bench would be Ward, Botman, Andreas Pereira and Bueno. On a free hit, you don't necessarily need really expensive players on your bench. And to be fair, I think you could still get away with someone like Mitoma in your midfield, and you could also afford the rest of this team. And I think Mitoma is a better option than Andreas Pereira on paper. But for the vast majority of you that need maybe extra funds, this team will be more accessible for the vast majority. So that is a very solid team, I think, for Game Week 20. just keep an eye out on Ivan Toney's fitness, the suspension risk and all of that, and also keep an eye out for a few other situations like John Stones. Is he going to be fit enough in time to play Man United? And if you just want to go for a safe defender option, I would go for Akanji. I think he'll start both games. He was another one that got a rest against Southampton in the Carabao Cup, and I really like Mahrez this week, I have to say that, and you could even go for him over the likes of Kulusevski and Kevin De Bruyne. I would go as far to say that. And bear in mind with Mohamed Salah, he still has an outside chance of having a double game week in 21. We might find that out very soon, but at the time of this recording, we don't have that official information, so it's very difficult to give a definitive answer as to whether we should sell Salah for De Bruyne for a -4 or for free, for example. But one thing to note is that De Bruyne has 2 confirmed doubles in game weeks 20 and 23, while Salah could have a double in 21, and Liverpool are struggling anyway and have some very difficult fixtures. So I might end up taking the plunge, selling Salah for a De Bruyne or Mahrez, but you're going to find out in the deadline stream tomorrow, so be sure to tune in for that. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get this video to over 300 likes. Let's keep on pushing towards 20,000 subscribers. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and you can also become a patron or a channel member, patreon.com/DylanRCM, and you can also check out the Discord server and the FPL League. Let me know which duo you prefer, like I said before, and if there are any changes you would make to the best free hit team that I provided for you today. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 19, Game Week 20, and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.